Hello and welcome to the first episode. Not really the first, but it's the first rebranded episode. Welcome to Your Game Network's WNBA Podcast. So the face may have changed of it and the logo and everything else. But what's not changed is the hosts. So sorry about that. But I am James Scott and I am back with the lovely Michelle Snow. How are you doing, Michelle?
I'm doing great. Can't complain. Going into year 5.
I know. Can you believe we've been doing this together for 5 years? That is insane.
I'm loving it though. And the best is it looks like the best is to come. Like sports blowing up.
It really is. And, when we started this 5 years ago, it was, we were both probably a bit raw into it as well. And I kind of feel we've kind of grown with the league over these last 5 years, which has been pretty cool. We had a Liberty and Aces podcast before. We're gonna have those two, but like the big announcement is that we're not going to stop at just covering two teams and two teams having their own podcast. By All Star Weekend, we intend to have all of our podcasts launched, one podcast for each team. We already have hosts in place. I was talking last night to the Sparks team. Uh, they're awesome. They're ready to go. Rachel and Audrey, by the way, both D1 players previously. So Long Beach and somewhere quite close to you, Portland. I'm excited for this new chapter we have going, Michelle.
I think it's fun. It's worth it. We put in a lot of the work. I love that it started out of a passion. Like we genuinely wanted to keep this going. Understanding that the history of the league needs to be protected and that we want to get those stories out there and continue to highlight some of the great work that these women are doing on the court, but also off the court.
Yeah, and that's going to be quite a big focus moving forward. I think previously we did obviously talk about the games, we talked about on the court, and we did touch on a little bit off the court. But what these individual podcasts are going to be able to do is really get into what happens off the floor as well, and what the teams are doing in their local communities and things like that. And I think that is something that doesn't get highlighted a lot. Like you just don't see it unless it's like a montage of something and it's just kind of in the background of something else. Whereas we really want to be able to talk about those stories. The Aces were very nice to us last year. They invited us down to their season ticket holder event that they had in the training facility, and we got to do that whole event, which was awesome. And those are the kind of things as well that we want to do is engage with you as fans so that we can, all be involved in these shows that we're putting out. And we definitely want to open it up to having like fan mailboxes and things like that. We have email addresses, we'll give those out. And obviously we'll be around social media as well.
I love it. We're going to be engaged with the audience. We want to hear from you. We want to learn more about what you want to see from us, and then we're going to do our best to get after that.
Definitely. And obviously you'll get our usual life updates as well, which is usually pretty fun. And again, like that's the kind of stuff we want to hear from you, the fans. And like we want to hear your experiences of being in the arena. One of the big things that we are working on this season is we did have media credentials for the Las Vegas Aces last season. And we really want to work on having people in every arena for every podcast so they could, for those who can't go to games, we can kind of download to you and what that experience is like, what the atmosphere is like in those arenas, because they're all selling out. I mean, you look at what the Valkyries have done with their home games so far this season, like the atmosphere in there, from what I hear, because I've not been there, has been immense. And one cool thing, Kirsten, who does our New York Liberty podcast, she is visiting Golden State, I think next month, and she has Valkyrie tickets, so she's going to be there. So she's looking forward to that because it is the new franchise. And what I didn't realize, Michelle, is there hasn't been an expansion team since 2008 when it was Atlanta. Like that's crazy to think we've waited that long for expansion team. It's almost like they're buses. Like none come for ages, and then you get like three at the same time. We've got Golden State, we've got Toronto, and Portland up after that.
think it's great. I was part of that '08, so I get it. Um, I think it's an ode to where the game has grown and where it's come. There was a time when it was kind of like, this isn't going to work, and teams were moving left and right. Aces being one of those teams. And then also, I think now we're at a place where it's settling down as the viewership continues to grow. Now you're not cutting, I mean, key players that were actually starting and playing in games were being cut simply because of a lack of team and a lack of roster spots. I think there's an end to that. It's going to be a ton of fun. And this also brings a game closer to every single fan.
That's right. And talking about roster spots, like me and you have spoken about roster spots, I think, since day one, 5 years ago. And Satu made actually an excellent point this
Yeah.
week. Should we expand the teams in terms of the number of players? But I think the only way you do that is obviously you'd have to, because there's a lot of teams that are short on players because they're trying to stay under the cap. And I
Mm.
think you would have to extend the cap in order to put more people on teams. And that's, I mean, we've got the CBA coming up. So, that's probably something that could be looked at. So you never know.
I cannot wait for this CBA. I just feel like there's going to be so many things that we're not expecting. It's gonna be interesting because you're gonna see teams fighting to keep control of that cap and those endorsements when now that the players have the NIL and other opportunities at their hands, they're not gonna wanna give up that kind of control. So, I'm 110%, I'm really expecting a lockout.
Yeah, I'm not, I, I am as well, which is disappointing because, like, as a fan, that's not what you want to see. You want to see the players play. Like, that's why you pay for season tickets and so forth. So, I sadly agree that I think potentially we could be headed to a lockout. And look, we've heard from some of the players that, like, that's not what they want, but at the same time, they want to get what's due to them. And you know, from a player's advocate side, I'm for that because we know that these women have been underpaid for such a long time, and with the extra revenue, with the extra eyes on the league, more jersey sales, more advertising dollars, like there's got to come a time where the players get their piece of that action.
I think it's gonna also be interesting to see how the front office deals with a lot of this. You're gonna have to have GMs having a conversation. I'm sure they're already talking with the president of the league and other people, the players union. The interesting piece is there are a lot of players that are now in the front office and they get it. How do you start coming up with those conversations and having those so that you can negate as much as you can going into next season? I think that'll be interesting. And you also, I think, are going to have a divide between some of these young new players that are getting a lot of the league's exposure and ad dollars and who have that fan base. I think that's going to become a big talking point between the old players and the new ones. Hopefully, the new ones understand don't sell yourself for an endorsement. So I think a lot of
Yeah.
front office issues and players, they're going to be on opposing sides, and it's going to be really interesting to see how they navigate that.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned it. I hadn't thought about that because there is kind of like the old guard of the
Mhm.
WNBA, and there is this new young bucks, if you like, coming into the league.
Yeah,
We've got your Caitlin Clark, your Angel Reese, Paige, Haley Van Leith. Like, you've got all these players that
yeah,
have come in, and in college they were big on campus, and they were making money through NIL. Whereas, they get to the league and yeah, they've still got their endorsements. We know that Caitlin's got that, what,
yeah.
28 million from Nike. But there is that kind of way, like, I think players like yourself, you know, you earned money or extra money, not by endorsements, but by going abroad and experiencing abroad. I mean, I always think of Monique Billings when she used to like do like Instagram lives, like from, I think she was in Russia,
Yep.
And she'd been out shopping. She'd got like all these ingredients for a Russian dish, and she was like immersing herself in Russian culture by cooking and sharing that with the world, which was quite cool. And but she was in Russia for a purpose. Obviously, the whole food and Instagram thing was just a bit of fun, but she was there for a purpose, and that was to make money. Whereas a lot of these players that are coming in now over the last couple of years because of NIL, they already have dollars behind them. So they're already kind of on the front foot. So they're not even thinking about coming to Europe or anywhere else.
Not necessarily. I think it depends on, like I said, I think this is where we're going to learn that basketball is a business. And some of and I hate to say younger players, they've been more immersed in that business because of some of the NIL deals and things they've had to face and navigate. Why wouldn't you go overseas? I know we've had contracts before where 20% of the sponsorship deal goes to the player. I've navigated and I've negotiated endorsements and deals where you can do that. And these players have big enough names to be able to do that. I'm not saying they will. A lot of them are probably going to, you see them in Unrivaled and places like that where
Yeah.
they can still stay in the States, but Unrivaled is only so big as well. Europe is an opportunity, and I think as people grow with NIL and learn how to move throughout that, and lawyers and other people get involved, I think that could become a game changer globally. Even for your I'd say not necessarily the elite players, the league has their 7 to 10, but players that are just below that who aren't getting those endorsements and attention, they could take that and smoke it. It's just a matter of, are they looking at what's available to them on the table, and do they understand? And this is where the old school comes in, because do you understand how to navigate that? Do you know how it's done in the past? Do you know what is negotiable and what's not? And I don't know that. I think that's where we're going to see a ton of growth.
It's going to be interesting for sure. I've noticed that there's really not been a lot of chatter about the CBA, and that
Mhm.
makes me think that obviously there's a lot of chatter behind closed doors.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, I mean, I think there normally is across all the leagues. Like, I don't think the WNBA is any kind of out the loop on that one. But like, I do think that we're going to see. I think the season will end and we'll not hear anything about the CBA until like Unrivaled's on, and I think a lot of it will be like like things will leak out, but they'll leak out during Unrivaled, and they'll kind of get quashed a little, so you won't exactly hear what's going on because everyone will be talking about Unrivaled. Because Unrivaled this year was a massive success
Yeah.
for sure, and it's going to be back next year. They've already signed. I think they've signed Paige already, the number one pick out of Dallas. So like that's phenomenal that they've managed to like not only make that success, but come back for year two. It is awesome. Did you watch much of Unrivaled?
I did. I thought Unrivaled was really cool as an example of how basketball can evolve. And it's kinda like when you hear people say, "Just stay in your lane, just be an employee and do what you're told." And it's kinda like you have people out here thinking outside the box who get it and understand the opportunities. 27 million your first year? Crazy. Then you have, oh my goodness, I'm forgetting who got hurt, and Lords of London has the insurance policy to
Yeah.
cover off so that you're not missing your WNBA season. I think Unrivaled is teaching people the business side, and once again, it's those elite players, and how do we funnel that down to everyone? Because
You
that's
know
gonna
what?
come into play come when we talk about the collective bargaining agreement. You need all those votes.
Yeah. What I quite like about Unrivaled is the timing.
Yes.
So I think the first half of the off season is quite quiet, and like it's I wouldn't say it's boring, but I think the players deserve a rest after like a long season, and then so they get that break, and then come January time, Unrivaled is there. So obviously, I mean, you've still got your players that will choose to go to Europe and play elsewhere, but you've then got Unrivaled that kind of kicks in, and I kind of see that as like almost a pre-tournament to like the WNBA season. But I kind of it's kind of like a retro fun, like in soccer we'd call it like 5 on 5, like five sides, where you've actually got you're in like a wall. You've got walls all around you and two goals, and you're just battering the ball. It's absolutely insane game, but it's fun and it helps fitness, keeps you sharp, and everything else. So when players finished unrivaled, they get a bit of a break, and then they can sit and watch March Madness, and then it's like, right, okay, let's go. Let's get into training camp. Let's get into preseason. Oh, the season started, and that's what I like about how they've timed it, because we kind of get this natural, unrivaled into March Madness, into the draft, and so on. And I think the way that they've marketed it was really was really smart.
I do too. I absolutely love that we have this edition here. The game's growing. Every which way that you look at it on the college pro is expanding within the league and outside of it. I think we are in for one hell of a season. It's going to be a ton of exciting. It's going to be a roller coaster. There are going to be ups and downs. We've already, but
Yeah.
it's going to be a fun season, especially as we continue to get younger and younger as well.
Yeah. One thing I will say, sadly, there is some bad news out of the UK. TNT Sports this season, like the last season and the season before, they haven't got the memo. One game a week on a Saturday is not enough. Like, it's just not enough. Thankfully, we have League Pass, so TNT Sports can beat it. And to be honest, TNT Sports in Europe will be beating it next year because the rights have been sold to Sky Sports in the UK and Europe, and also Amazon Prime. So next year, people will have options
Mhm.
about. So there's definitely going to be more than one game. That's for sure. So not great this year, but next year we have something to look forward to here in Europe. We're definitely going to be getting some additional games, which is great news globally for the game.
Love it.
It's going to be awesome. I can't wait. So we have started the season, and we're kind of coming in a little bit late, just as we kind of got everything set up and prepped and ready to go. Um, let's talk about the draft. I mean, the draft. Obviously, the number one pick was kind of a foregone conclusion. We had Paige Beckers going to the Dallas Wings, and I have to say, like, I was kind of sad for Dallas because they lost Satu, and obviously she's went off to Phoenix. And I really thought like a Paige and Satu together with Enrique, like that would have been a pretty. I mean, it is a good team anyway, but I think that would have been phenomenal.
Think that would have been crazy, but I think it's interesting where she did end up. I'm glad she got number one. I know she's had some battles because she had
Yeah.
the injury, had to come back, take a season off. So really, I'm really kind of just proud of her and what she's doing and how she's able to do that. In terms of who ends up where, I feel like that's gonna always change with the league. Look at where people went in the off season this year. We can dream, nothing wrong with dreaming, but I think it'll be interesting to see how she develops over time in Dallas, just because of where she is in her journey back to the court.
Mhm.
But I'm excited about Paige Beckers and what she's gonna do in Dallas.
I think she's going to be phenomenal in Dallas, and um, we already have our kind of wings crew set up. And I was speaking to Rebecca and Jessica, who are going to be the hosts of that show, and they are seeing, and the way that she's been talked about, Paige. Obviously, Dallas had a bit of a loss over this season when they lost Luca to the Lakers, and I think fans have kind of turned a little bit away from the Mavericks because of that, because it was a stupid move. And somebody's definitely getting fired over that one. And I think from what I hear, a lot of kind of fans are like, well, hang on, we've just got Paige Beckers. Let's go watch the WNBA. Let's go watch the Dallas Wings. And I think that is phenomenal. And if that continues, then she's going to get that support. She's going to get that coverage as well, which is important. And I think Dallas is a really good place for her to grow, and they can build that team around her and Enrique um, over the next couple of years. And I think that team, they are in a rebuild, like no doubt, but like I think they're off on the right foot.
Agreed. I definitely think you ended it the way it should have started. They're rebuilding.
Yeah, well, yeah, they are rebuilding, but
They're
like,
absolutely 110%
yeah,
rebuilding. You got Arike, who's gonna do some beautiful things. She's a great player. I think mixing those 2 will be really good in terms
hmm
of how they play and the pace. It's just gonna take time. I think Paige has come in there and been dominating. I think she had 1 rough game that was kinda like welcome to
yeah,
the league. So we're okay with that. But I think, the expectations for them was lottery bound. It honestly, I wouldn't
yeah,
be surprised if they tank and just used her name as a ticket to get through this year and be able to bring in another big pick next year. And then now they have a team that can contend. Since you brought up Dallas, that's the only reason I brought up tanking. Um, but right now they have the worst record. I think they're just as a overall Dallas right now is getting an F in terms of how they're moving
yeah.
across teams. And I have to be fair, not the Wings, more so the Mavericks.
Oh yeah,
Um, kind of made it an F. I think for the Wings though, solid pick is just let her give her that time. Don't put any pressure on her. Allow her to kind
mhm.
of soak everything in and get used to the league. And I think next year they come back if they can get a high pick, and they may be able to at least make a strong push into the playoffs.
Yeah, and hopefully they can because I think Dallas is long overdue a run. It's been a minute. And maybe that's why Satu wanted out because she was kind of like, I've been here, I've done some time here, and I need a fresh start. That's kind of the way I looked at it. That's probably more than anything that what she's kind of wanted to do.
You
Um,
really believe that? I
yeah,
don't think she knew who that number one pick was. Either way, it was kind of like you got the dunker coming in out of France, or you got Paige Beckers.
yeah,
They're gonna build around both of these players. We played in similar spots. Let me get the hell out of here.
yeah,
Um, I don't know. I think if she didn't think like that, I'm starting to worry because I'm like, she's a hell of a post player.
yeah.
But I think
No,
dealing
she
with the
is.
viewership that is coming with these younger players, that would be tough for her.
hmm Yeah, and Phoenix is, you know, talking about a team in rebuild. Like
Yes, that's another one.
they've lost a lot of players out of that team this year. Obviously, some to retirement, some decided to take their talents elsewhere. Um, there was a pick that I kind of was like, this is a strange one. Uh,
Mhm,
Georgia Amour at number six went or number six
mhm,
went to the Mystics, and
yep.
she has an ACL injury, and like again another team probably in a rebuild because
Yeah,
they lost a lot of players in the off season as well, and some good ones as well, and so I mean their rebuild's probably about 3 years longer than Dallas at this stage, but
mm,
it's they do have some pieces there, and in all fairness, like I love the way that they're set up. Like I've watched a few Mystics games already this season, and you can see what they're trying to do.
mhm.
And I think they need a bit more talent in there, and they need a few more pieces. But there's hope there for sure.
100%. Every time I think about this team, they're inconsistent at 4 and 6, but they're competitive as hell.
Yeah,
I go, they have some hungry wolves. They got the dogs. If and you're right, a few more pieces. If they add to that piece of the puzzle, let her get healthy. She's a heck of a player, and I think Washington is one of those cities where it's a little easier to bring in players from the global side, just going across the world. They've notoriously done that in the past as well. I think
yeah,
that's a win for them. It keeps them under the salary cap and positioned to pull in a big name player to kind of add to that space now that Natasha Cloud is gone.
yeah. And
Because
that that
she led that pack of wolves.
yeah, I mean that was probably one of the biggest kind of losses that we've seen any team have was Natasha Cloud. Now obviously she now plays for New York,
Yeah.
and I love Natasha Cloud. I like you just see her. She has this swagger about her, and like No one's touching me. That's the kind of feel, and I love it. Now talking about trades, there was a trade this winter that hit me hard. I won't lie, it hit me hard, and unfortunately, it also means that my jinx is now carried over from the NBA to the WNBA because I have a jinx. Back in 2000 or around 2000 ish, I got given a Vince Carter jersey, a Toronto Raptors Vince Carter jersey. 6 months later, he played for New Jersey. I then got a Chris Paul jersey, Hornets jersey. A few months later, he's gone. I got a Gordon Hayward jersey. He ends up in Boston. I got a Donovan Mitchell jersey. He ends up in Cleveland. I get a Kelsey Plum jersey, and she ends up in LA. Like, I'm no longer buying jerseys. I'm done.
Well, if you're not gonna buy them for those who are on their sports betting, who would you buy? They'll know that player's getting traded.
Oh, it is hard. Like I've never been one for like buying a lot of jerseys, but like I do have some players that I really like, and I'll go out and I will get those jerseys. Donovan Mitchell was obviously like one of the big ones for me because he looked like he was going to be a franchise player for the Jazz, and Danny Ainge comes in and busts up the team, the idiot that he is. But I couldn't believe it. Like I'm seeing Kelsey Plum, and like you come on social media and you see the big banner, and it's got a picture of her in a Sparks uniform, and yeah, that was it's a big trade. Now, obviously, the Aces did get something out of that. We got Joe Lloyd, but having watched the first games of the season, that is this is going to be a long season for the Aces for sure. Some of the losses and even some of the wins that the Aces have been tough, and it's a long season. But whereas I think in previous years, I think I might have said it a few years ago, like Kelsey seems to be like the glue that kind of gets the team, keeps it together. Like you've got the point guard who runs things and gets everyone set where they need to be. You've got Asia, who's your big star, who's your point scorer, your rebounder. You've got Jackie, who's like that support mechanism that you need, and then you had Kelsey, who's kind of the glue that kind of just kept everyone connected. And I think it is showing that without Kelsey, that this team is lacking something. Defense mostly.
Well, now you can't say Kelsey and defense in the same sentence. I gotta stop you right there. They don't go in the same sentence. I love Kelsey Plum. That's my girl. She's a scorer. Let her score. That's
She
what she
is.
does. But you cannot put her in the same sentence with defense. You are going to get put in a bubble. Yo, I mean, you got to know what you're good at. You know what I mean? That one is not her strong point. It's not listed in strengths. I think she, I think at times when they need a scoring spurts and she just hit that rhythm, she
Hmm.
brought a heck of a lot to this team. She brings energy. She brings veteran leadership because she's grown up on this team.
Yeah.
I think losing her does hurt. Chelsea Gray, to me, I think she's the glue of that team. She is the Becky Hammond on the court. Like she
Oh
knows
yeah.
what Becky's thinking. She's talking in those timeouts. Becky trusts her. I think with the Aces right now, they're 4-4, which if it was any other team, we'd say, all right, you're off to a rough start. They'll figure it out. But because of the Aces and all that they've done over the past few years, they've been contenders every single year. For 4 isn't a big deal. Fans are gonna be like, yo, they're having a horrible season. They're really not. I think with the changes that they've had, they gotta get Jackie Young in that offense and get her rolling
Yeah.
consistently. Joel Lloyd, same. She's new. She's
Yeah.
another monster that can score and get up under people. I think they just have some key pieces that are in new roles. So you got to give Jewel time. You got Asia. Actually, Asia has the head injury.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think get her healthy, and she was dominating out the gates. She's putting up MVP numbers again.
Yep.
So I
Again.
think for them, They got to figure out how to get some more pieces. Do they look at changing that offense a little bit, switching it up? I think they've run that so long and been successful for so long that everyone knows kind of what to expect. And I'm not worried. I'm sure Becky will figure that part out. But
There
I
is
don't
one
I don't know what that missing piece is outside of just time for them.
there is one thing that I will walk back this season. Every season, I've pretty much given Kia Stokes a bit of a hard time for being a bit soft inside, and so far this season, like when the ball's been thrown into her inside, she has become more physical and being a lot more confident in being that inside player. And obviously, Asia is a big part of that as well. So Asia does draw defenders away, but like in previous years, you would see Kia go up for rebounds or something, and there just doesn't seem to be like a level of commitment to go and get that rebound. Whereas like the opening games of the season, oh my god, she was like right there, and she had like 10, 12, 13 rebounds a game. And I was like, that's the, and I was shouting at the telly, and I was like, that's the Kia I wanted to see for the last 3, 4 years. Now we were winning championships and everything else while she was a bit softer, but like if we can get her intensity up like to that level, I think that won't make the difference in what they're looking for, but it's certainly going to help.
I think she's a that I think I'm gonna say that position is a key part of them getting there.
Yeah.
If that's her, cool. If they make a trade, I wouldn't be shocked. Um, if they're not figuring out like how do we get someone here that, but I also think Kia, like you said, she has a unique opportunity this year to kind of show fans how she's growing in a different side of her game because she has been giving um Asia a ton of room out there on that 3-point line, which takes you away from rebounds. So we look and we go, she's only getting 3 for a rebound. And I go, well, she's on the 3-point line and is creating spacing. That's kind of part of their offense and how they're running things. Do we need someone to get down there and help get some boards? Absolutely. Are we asking way too much of Asia? Yes. Is she able to deliver, Miss Mary Mac Mac? Yes, she can. She can deliver, but I think anything Kia can do to just take some of that pressure off of her is key. And I go, you can get easy bunnies. People are going to double team her. You can get the offensive rebound and put it back up. But that's also why I started with the offense too. Is are they going to kind of switch that up a little bit, which we've seen, and just how does that translate into them becoming consistently dominant at all spots?
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of work to go in this season.
Yeah, they got
Um,
some.
I was slightly worried when Greg Popovich retired because I've always been of the opinion that when Pop retired, that the Aces would get a call and it would be like we want Becky back, and you know I don't think they've settled on who's going to replace Pop, but massive shoes to fill, obviously. Like I would not like to go into that locker room right after Pop. Like I'd maybe give it like 4 or 5 years. But if anyone could manage that, it would be Becky.
Absolutely. She's used to that system. She understands how to run it. She knows it forward and backward. And I think we're gonna see that, but I think Becky enjoys what's happening in the women's league and the impact that she's having. She's set her mark there in the NBA. Maybe she can go back, but I would be somewhat shocked to see her walk away from this challenge. Of
Hmm.
okay, we got all these young bucks in here. Let's show them what a veteran team that's consistent and she's a competitor at
Yeah.
the end of the day. Not saying she won't entertain this job, but I'm looking forward to seeing what she does with the Aces. If she goes to San Antonio, don't buy a jersey.
Don't buy another Aces jersey.
No, don't buy a San Antonio jersey. Somebody gonna get traded. Or an Aces jersey.
I'll get a Wemby one. That'll do. Because he can't go for another 2 years, so that should be fine. Uh, now, um, so far this season, we've seen some amazing games. We've not talked about these two teams much so far, but that is the New York Liberty and the Minnesota Lynx. Are we looking at the two finalists again this season? Because the way that they both started, I mean, Minnesota only lost their first game, and it was to the Storm earlier on
Mhm.
this week. Like, and that was a heck of that was. Ooh, by the way, that was a punchy game. That like, especially towards the end, there was a few kind of pushes and elbows and stuff going on. Like Diggins was getting stuck right in and not taking any crap, obviously, because she doesn't. But I was like, oofed. And then, we've got these two teams, and we know that Natasha Clouds is now in New York. That was that piece coming to New York, I think, is probably the most important transaction we've had of the off season.
Probably. I think you have one. This here is a battle of the front offices because they've made some hella good moves. That Natasha Cloud to New York, I was like, oh, oh my goodness. Now they got someone that they have that dog that they can stick on the best players. Spaces the floor, allows them to shoot the three. They're playing freaking unbelievable right now. They are undefeated. They're dominating. They're outscoring opponents. They've had one of the best starts in WNBA history, to be completely honest. I think when you look at the big three that's on that team and how they've kind of switched up and changed a little bit, I think they have created a key addition with Cloud that's going to allow them to lock teams down and still space that floor. And it strengthens their defense for sure, which I always questioned with that team. I think they try, but I think at the end of the day, this is a 3-point shooting team that's just going to spread, and they're kind of going to lock down with JJ Jonquel, and then now you got Cloud that can push him into JJ in the post. This gives them two really, really instrumental pieces to repeating their championship. And you got Sandy Brondello leading the way. And you look on the other side, Cheryl Reeves, also the Olympic coach. I think you got two masterminds. That's why I said it starts in the front office, because these two already finished last season fighting until the end. And they have started this season both. They're playing like they both lost. Like New York is playing like they lost in the championship and they have a chip on their shoulder. I love that because I go, that's how you build a dynasty. I think they can. I do think they're champions. They're favorites for championship for sure. I think they have the defense. The offense is elite. I think the defense is definitely solid enough, and it is solid to get them back to a championship. And I think Minnesota has to figure out what are they going to do. Collier is out here playing like an MVP front runner. Like I, I just feel like they starved her over the off season and now they're letting her out because she is going bananas. You got her, Courtney Williams. They have some key players there, and they have another, like I said, strong coaching force. I expect these two teams to definitely make deep runs into the playoffs. I think it's too early to call it, way too early. We already have injuries
Yeah.
across the league. So I think it's staying healthy. Also, I think New York has all eyes on them. So how they're running that offense and how they're moving, can they maintain that? And I can't say that I'm worried about Minnesota because historically Minnesota's always been in the running. Historically, I think they're just not in the major market where it is talked about as much as it
Yeah.
should be. Because people will be like, Cheryl Reeves, who is that? And it's like, that's the if you know, you know. If you know the sport,
Yeah.
you know who Cheryl Reeves is. And if you don't, a lot of our newers, for y'all who don't know, Cheryl Reeves is the GOAT. When it comes to coaching, she knows how to develop players. I would liken her to the Greg Popovich of the WNBA.
She is, and obviously that's why she's Team USA coach as well. Like that's why they went out to her and brought her in for that, because it is that development of players when you go to these tournaments. And we've seen last year in Paris, like how like Team USA did not have it their own way all the time. It was a
Mhm.
very difficult tournament for them, and they were made to earn that gold medal. Like that did not come easy. That French team in the final, phenomenal. Like they were so, and what we're seeing now is that some of those French players are now are now
Where they
playing
need
in
to
the
be in the
WNBA.
league. Mhm.
So like that shows, and like I remember back in the '90s when we had like the '92 and the '96 Olympics. we've seen a lot of European players start to invade the NBA as well. And I think we're maybe seeing that start to happen now because a lot of these foreign players are now with the Olympics got on that pedestal of wow, these players could like you've got GMs looking at that player could fit in our system pretty well. So that's something else to think about moving forward is
Mm,
as the WNBA expands, yes, it's going to give more players out of college
mhm.
spots, but also you maybe have to look across the pond and think, well, we're probably going to have to give some of those spots to some of these really talented European,
Yes.
Australian players and give them a shout. So yeah, I'm loving the way things are going in that regard actually, because I think with that growth and with the international game getting so good, and to be fair, like although I was Team USA all the way during the Olympics, it was still good to see them actually have to work for it and it not just be kind of we're going to win by 50 points because that's not entertaining basketball to me. Like I want to see a good game. So, which is why, like I loved Bel. I was to be fair, I was, as much as a USA fan, I was probably more a Belgium fan during the Olympics because
Mhm.
they were another team that were just phenomenal. Like they just took that tournament by storm. So. Talking about the storm, the Seattle Storm, they they lost Joe Lloyd, but they
Yeah,
still
they
have NECA, they have Diggins, and they look like they could be a decent team this year. They obviously beat Minnesota,
Minnesota.
and that's a big win. And like you mentioned, Courtney Williams. Now, Courtney Williams was a guest on our show, I think, in
Yeah.
our first season, and when she was in Atlanta, and to see her development over the
Ooh,
last 5 years, because we've watched her for 5 years together, and to watch her development to get to the finals last year, I was like, I was so happy for her.
yeah,
And then you see her return this year. And I think the massive difference in Courtney Williams is she had energy that was infectious, but what
yeah,
she's added to that, so she's still got that energy, she's still got that infectious energy that she can, put on other players, but she also now has a massive leadership role in that Lynx team. As much as Nafisa is the leader of that team, I think Courtney, when you see her on the floor and interacting with people and talking, you can see like she's really she's channeling that energy like in a different way and in a very positive way to the kind of younger players and to all of the players like Heidemann as well. Like she's really kind of going around with Heidemann and making sure that, when she comes off the floor and Heidemann comes on, it's almost as if they are one and the same.
yes. Um, she's gonna be a big key, a huge piece to their success, and her growth it has changed. You can tell that she's really owning that role. She steps into it, that she has the respect of her teammates. It's hard not to have her respect when you saw the way she played in those finals. But she's played like that her entire career. I think is getting the publicity it deserved last year. But I also think that her growth on and off the court has contributed to where she is and the situation that she finds herself in right now, where she's contending seriously, one of the top two that is in everyone's minds as a contender for this WNBA 2025 championship.
Absolutely. She's been phenomenal. Now, a team that we've not talked about quite yet is the Indiana Fever. They have Caitlin Clark, obviously,
Mhm.
but they did a lot of building in the off season, brought in a
They did.
lot of players,
They did.
and because they want to contend now, like they don't want to
Yes.
wait. They want to contend now. Now, unfortunately, Caitlin, Sophie
Yeah.
Cunningham, they had some injuries on that team. Like you mentioned, injuries happen. Um, but it's early in the season, so
Yeah.
no one likes to have injuries. But if you're going to have them, now is probably the
Yeah.
best time, especially because Caitlin Clark is scheduled to play
Mhm.
against the Liberty this weekend, and that's going to be a huge matchup.
Mhm. I can't wait. Okay, I cannot wait to see this game. I think Indiana, it's one of those teams that I said in the offseason, we got to have a podcast here because they're going to be contending. I think they're the third team when we think about who could be there. They made some phenomenal moves. Front office moves got an A plus in terms of the offseason things that they did to bring people to a city that most people did not ever want to play in. I got to give it to the men too because they've kind of they lit the fire and kind of showed people like this is what we got in Indiana. This is where hoops was born and all of these things. Like Indiana has a lot of claims to basketball in general. I think it's creating its own media market because of the fire that comes and the fan base that comes with a Caitlin Clark. And the other piece that I love is her and Boston are putting on a show. They're putting on a freaking show. They're making it fun. It's up pace. They get after it. Like that's a physical team as well. And I think Caitlin is responding well to everything that's being thrown at her and showing that she deserves everything that's been given to her. And I think the one piece that she understands is missing. She needs that ring. She needs that championship.
And like obviously with the team that they built, now we've just talked about the Lynx and the Liberty being
Mhm.
contenders. Like my money's on them for the finals.
Oh yeah.
But could you know, and like we mentioned before, injuries happen, and things happen throughout a
Indiana can be
season that
there.
can change things. But Indiana could really
Oh yeah.
be in those finals this year, and to go from like before Caitlin Clark, Indiana really wasn't kind of doing too much. They get
Hmm.
Caitlin Clark, and then this year they build upon it. Like they've pushed the boat out and they got some talented players, brought them in, and like Caitlin is working hard. The one thing about her game that I really don't like is the
No mid
chippiness
range.
with the chippiness with the refs. Like
Oh yeah.
she's I mean, there's another player that I really hate who does that, and I actually don't watch his games because it just annoys me all the time. But I have
Mhm.
seen it like if a call goes her way, the arms go up in the air, and it's like, oh, how could you go that put that against me and stuff. And I think you know it's good to have a chip on your shoulder.
Oh
Like
yeah.
like that's good is a good thing. I just think she needs to direct it in a certain way, and going at the refs, I just don't think it's a good look because we're trying to promote this game to young girls, and if young girls see Caitlin Clark having to go at refs and everything else, then they're thinking, well, if Caitlin Clark does it, then I can do it, and like they go into their under 10s game or something, a ref makes a bad call, and that ref gets a mouthful from a 10-year-old. Like there's a phone call to the parents coming. So like I just kind of hope she kind of cuts that part out because she is a phenomenal player. But one question I have for you is Clark versus Reese. Is this a media thing or is this an actual rivalry?
I think it's media. To be honest, it sells tickets. It's salacious conversation. You get to make it into race. You get to make it into black versus white. I go, anyone who is having that argument, I am questioning their intelligence, and I don't care. I'll say it to your face. I'm questioning your intelligence. You cannot compare Caitlin Clark, a guard, to Angel Reese, a post player. That is apples to oranges. Doesn't make sense. It's like comparing Jordan and LeBron. They do not play the same way. They bring different things to a team. It's not the same thing. They're not selling the same thing. They both in their respective ways have blown the game up. I think the root of it is people want to give the credit to one or the other. It was both of them. Caitlin Clark has blown this league up and brought in fans that have never seen the game. At the same time, I think Angel Reese has also blown the game up on and off the court. When you look at her fashion sense, she's getting ready to do the gala with Vogue. She has a unique personality and a whole recipe that she brings to the WNBA that's different. So does Caitlin Clark. And I think people want to create that. it's always like, oh, it's women, let's create drama. Drama sells. And I go, that's fine. You can sell the drama, but I think there's a huge gap between the people who truly understand the game of basketball and some of these bandwagon fans. Don't get me wrong, we love all the bandwagon fans. Come along, we'll educate you along the way. But I think a lot of people are new and they have big voices and big mouths and don't know what the hell they're talking about. You can tell they don't understand basketball at just a basic level. And they're arguing with people who've played this game. And I think there are wrong opinions on both sides, but I think we should definitely understand what we have in front of us. It's kind of like a lot of people aren't going to understand LeBron until he's gone. They want to call him the crybaby. Even with what you said with Caitlin, I got to give her a pass for one reason. One reason. It's her second year in the league. She has handled an immense amount of pressure. The league has put it on her. Nike's put it on her. I think fans in their comments have put it on her, and you can say you're not reading it or you're not, you're hearing it. If you're not reading it, your friends are telling you because you hear the stuff that
It's
people are
everywhere.
saying. Yeah, it's like we hear all of this stuff. I think she handles it well, and if she gonna wave and mouth at the ref, I'm just gonna tell the 10-year-old this. I mean, when we look at pro sports across the board, that's kind of what happens. And this is pro sports. And I do want her to be authentic if that's who she wants to be. I don't think that's her intent. I think she does it a lot too. But I have to just and I'm not saying that's right or wrong for any player. I just think that she has so much pressure that is on her and it's not justifiably so. And just because you get 28 million doesn't mean she's not human. Because sometimes fans feel like, well, you're getting paid, I can say whatever I want. That's not true either.
I know.
She's got immense pressure. She's bringing a lot to the league. It's gonna her alone. She's gonna have a big impact on this CBA, and that's one of the reasons I made the comment around being one of the league's top players and being for the actual league. And I think Caitlin Clark is going to stand up for the players.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't even question that. But I think there's going to be a ton of pressure put on her continuously. And if she shrugs it or off, I tee her up and keep it moving.
Yeah. We have seen a lot of tentacles this year so far.
Tee
Like,
them
I
up. And
like,
they're trying to
not
control
just
these. You got a lot of
yeah.
egos that just came in. I'm making more money than you, homie. How you going? I go. I wasn't making that kind of money, and I gave the reps hell. Like, I think it's how you do it.
Yeah.
I think if you're disrespecting the refs, not cool. If you're doing it in a playful way, cool. If you 1 or 2 seconds and you stop, cool. If you cannot control your emotions, then we need to get you some counseling because I think you should be able to react and be authentic. I don't think that should. It doesn't mean you can overstep the boundaries of the referee, teammates, or other people. So
I
it's like,
think
what is that gray area?
I think the funniest thing I ever seen as a player, and I think I was under 18s at the time. I played for a team called the Dalkeith Saints. They don't even exist anymore, so it's fine. But we were playing the West Lothian Wolves, and they had a player on their team, and this is the 90s, right? So he thinks he's Dennis Rodman. He's got the nail polish on, like everything else. He's coming in, and he's got a swagger, but not like a Natasha Cloud swagger. It's like a stupid one that he's going to knock somebody over with. And he every time, every time the ref blew the whistle, the arms were up in the air, and he shouted at the ref, and we're all like, "Dude, man!" And he got tentacled, and like he went over to the bench and just started kicking the bench, and we're like, and when I say bench, it's not like a nice cushy bench like you get in the States. It's like a wooden thing. And he's like, it's proper pine. And
Yeah,
he's like kicking the bench and everything else. I'm like, geez, wow, that is someone that needs counseling. Whereas, there are some players you'll see in the W, and a foul will happen, and while the free throws are happening, they'll they'll kind of walk a little bit closer to the ref, and you can just see their lips moving, and they're obviously having just a little bit of. So what was that all about? Just want to fill me in.
I don't think it's in that sweet tone though.
Well, probably not that sweet tone, but but I think that's quite respectful. Like if you have that kind of conversation in that way. But yeah, when I see arms flying about, like, oh, what you calling that a foul? That's that and I think we have to understand that refs get things wrong. They
Yeah.
don't see everything. There is going to be an element because I think so, yeah, I think the Indiana Fever coach, she kind of in one of her press conferences was like, well, if you see all the calls that are going against us, like we're not getting as many free throws as other teams. And like that might be true, but at the end of the day, like refs can't see everything. And I
She
don't think
she
it's
wanted them to hear it. That's why she said it.
well,
That
yeah,
was her way of saying it.
yeah. But like refs just don't see everything. And I think sometimes we need to lay off them a little bit. Luckily, like I think the refs in the W, I think in general probably have a good reputation with the players and vice versa. But sometimes, there's going to be a foul that's just egregious and they've missed it,
Mhm.
and it happens. And I think there has to be that understanding. But Caitlin Clark, I
It
think,
depends on how much money is on the table when you say there has to be understanding, because that,
well,
OKC Fever game 1,
yeah,
the ref can't mess that call up.
no,
I
that's a
think I
big
think
one.
it depends on when it occurs, like the timing of some of these calls. If it's 1st, 2nd quarter, like early in the game, let it go.
Yeah,
Now, end of the 3rd, going into the 4th, end of the game, emotions are gonna be high. And I think emotional intelligence is the way you go about it, and I'm not gonna lie, I remember me as a 22-year-old, I was always getting teed up. I was always
uh,
saying something, and I was also 22. So and
see,
I go that's why I go, "Caitlin, she's a baby," and I
yeah,
think we forget it a little bit. She gonna get there. She's gonna get there. We look at other players who got there. LeBron got there, Kobe got there. Um, yes, you gotta be mindful of it 100% because respect is respect, and it should always be given to everyone. At the same time, I've seen some of these plays where refs miss the call. If you elbow me, I'm elbowing you. That's just the way it is.
that's the way it's going to be.
That's the way
I
it's
mean,
gonna be.
one of my,
Otherwise, you're gonna keep kicking my phone. You're gonna be
well,
kicking
yeah,
my line.
we don't want that.
Oh
One of
no,
my
I'm not gonna allow it.
one of my coaching mentors, Craig Nickel, when I started coaching, he kind of showed me the ropes, and like at games and stuff, he would show me how he interacted with
Yeah.
referees and how he influenced referees with that part. And that was something like he would get a technical, not every game, but he would get
Mhm.
the technical often,
Intentionally.
but his point was made, and you always seen that the referee kind of went that way. They might have given him a technical for getting a bit animated, and so when I started coaching on my own as a head coach, like yeah, I would get technicals, and some of the players were like, James, what are you getting a technical for? And I'll tell you later. We'll discuss it later. And like you would go into the locker room and he'd say, getting a technical just helped us get an extra 5, 6 points here because the ref's not calling that, or the ref is calling that, and now we're getting more free throws. So like it was, yeah. I like, you can influence referees, but I think you influence them better by talking to them rather than the
100.
whole flamboyant whole thing, arms
100.
and everywhere. Enough about refs. Jeez, talk
It's a
too
it's
much
a
about
lot of
refs.
egos within that 90 feet.
Yeah, yeah, a lot. At any level, it doesn't even have to be the W. It's at any level, college, high school, the whole lot. Um, Asia Wilson is the reigning MVP, still putting MVP numbers up,
Mhm.
but there are some challengers this year
Yes.
that we've seen so far. If Asia Wilson wins MVP, because I'm always kind of the opinion that person that wins MVP should probably be in those finals, and she wasn't last year, but it is for the regular season MVP. So, do we think that she'll still win MVP? but not make the finals?
If they pull it together and put together a decent season, yes. If they don't, that's gonna be tough to be in the bottom half and still win MVP. I think you have to be in the top half. Can they do that? Yes. Absolutely, the Aces can do that. They have the pieces. I think they just need some time. And she's playing like a monster. I just I mean, how often have we had an MVP that came from the bottom half of
Yeah,
that's gonna be a biggie, especially when you have Collier who's playing for a team that's already being put into the finals.
yeah, that's right. We put her there. Um, some sad news out of Chicago. Well, actually, some good news and some sad news. Um, Courtney Vandersloot
Yep.
is now back in Chicago. However, she is now out for the season with an
Mhm.
ACL tear. Uh, wish her all the best and want to see her back next season. But her wife, Ali Quigley, officially, although she hadn't played for the last couple of years, officially retired this week from playing. That, like, I mean, I think we kind of already knew that that was a thing, but it's nice to kind of actually hear it. And I think in Chicago, they're gonna like have a big video montage. I think they're retiring her jersey. That's that's the good news part. Um, but I think the other good news is that Van Lith was not really playing a whole bunch before the injury, but I watched that game where Courtney went down, and what I seen was a young rookie come in and boss that game. Like she came in as almost as if I'm here now, I've got you. Now they didn't win the game, but like what we seen was some real kind of fight, like kind of what we seen in college. Like Haley is known for this. She is resilient and she will just go. She's like an energizer bunny. Like you just put the batteries and off she goes, and she will not stop. And you know, I think Chicago might have some good depth there moving forward.
I think they got depth, but it's a development year, period.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They're done. Um, and I don't mean that to be a Debbie Downer. I'm not. Because everything you said was true. Angel Reese is dominating. She's having a great year. Van Lee did step up. Losing Courtney Vandersloot was huge because
Yeah.
that was supposed to kind of bring that veteran leadership to the team at the point guard spot. I think that's going to hurt. I think it does help Van Lee because it allows her to get the experience she needs over this first season. But I think the front office has got to make some moves because
Yeah.
I'm when I'm looking at the offseason and some of the moves that they made, I got questions.
They were kind of soft. They didn't really do a whole bunch,
I
really.
I didn't understand I didn't understand some of their moves. I think and I get it, maybe they wanna rebuild, maybe they're tanking, I don't know what's in their mind, but if y'all are trying to compete, I didn't see it. I didn't see it.
I did see a post on Facebook on the Chicago Sky fan page, and it was a fan who is a season ticket holder who had written to the league or written to the league. Shut up, James. Written to the team
Mhm.
and been like, "What are you playing at? Like, I'm paying for a season ticket, and what I'm seeing on the floor isn't good enough. Like, you need to be doing better." And I actually thought this was quite like the way he wrote it was actually quite articulate and like was well written. And he actually got a reply, and it was kind of which probably even better and good of the team, because I think if they don't reply, they just look like douchebags.
Right.
But the fact that they did reply, and they ended up, I think they put it out to all the fans, all the season ticket holders. Like, we've had this kind of letter come in. This is our response, and they explained that the season hasn't started quite the way that they had hoped. They thought they would be in a much better position, and so on. And they are having to have a look at how things are going to do moving forward. So I like that they're taking accountability, because I think
I
it would
love
be
it.
it'd be very easy for them just to see that email or letter and just kind of that's kind of negative. We'll just put that to the side. Whereas they've actually kind of looks as though they've taken it on board and, like, you know what? they're right. These are season ticket holders. They pay a lot of money to come and see, especially now because we're seeing ticket prices go up because the demand goes up.
Yeah.
So, like, they're. I like the accountability part.
I love it. I think that's amazing but I'm glad you're taking accountability. Don't get me wrong. I love the person that takes accountability. I kind of those the people that don't kind of bump heads with me. Um, at the same time, taking accountability versus being 3 steps ahead,
Oh yeah,
the off season is long. It's really, really long. So I'm still kind of like that was a bit of a letdown for one reason. You got an Angel Reese who is bringing a huge viewership, a huge people are telling me about flying their children across the country to see her play, and y'all are 2 and 6.
yeah, not great.
So people want to give you their money. I this is where I'm like I'm confused as to what happened in the off season. What my boy James, what Coach James, go get him.
Yeah, he needs to come back.
He's not.
Well, he's not, but yeah,
No,
we
but
like him to come back.
I would absolutely love it, but I don't we're not there, so we can't look behind the scenes. I'm
No.
definitely speculating, but it's quite obvious that the off season, we see what they went after and what they did. It's just not working. I think that that's a huge, loss. It could hurt them in the long run if they don't hurry up and fix it or find a trade or something because these endorsements aren't going to keep coming and you're playing at 2 and 6 and you're having to develop you're like one game ahead of Dallas.
Yeah, and like we look at Washington and they're 4-6, and you would say, looking at the teams, if you played a game on paper, you would say Washington should be behind Chicago, given the talent that's on that Chicago roster for sure.
Yes.
And but one team that has surprised me, and I will say that I am over the moon to say that they have surprised me, is over the last couple of years we watched the Atlanta Dream, and we've watched them grow and build a team, and they added some pieces over the
Pieces.
off season, and they're 6-3. Like
Yes.
they look, and not only that, but they look phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
Like absolutely love what they're doing on the floor because for the last few years it for Atlanta fans, it's maybe been a bit of a hard run. But I think now that they've went through the building process, they've got in the pieces they want. They've got Brittany Griner in,
Yeah.
like that. I think that was leadership wise and experience. That was something that they needed because it was quite a young team.
Yeah.
And now, like they brought in those pieces, and they're good. They look good to go. They look playoff bound.
I would agree. I think they're a solid playoff team. I think they're gonna go
Mhm.
deep into the playoffs. Could pull some things off depending on how things, turn out in the end. But Howard, Alicia, like they have some amazing pieces. I'm shocked. The defense on that team, elite, but it's the rebounding.
Yeah,
What do they say? Rebounding wins championships. And if that's true, y'all better watch out for Atlanta.
I thought it was defense, but we'll go with rebounded for now
Rebounds.
because I want to see the Dream do well. We can't go without talking about the Golden State Valkyries, the
Oh
new
yeah.
expansion team, and the head coach. She she took a bit of a hit right at the beginning of the season from the fans. The fans were not happy with her at all in her roster selections. I think one said, what was it? One said, "You've not even seen the player play, and you've cut them." Like they
Welcome to
didn't
the
get any minutes.
WNBA.
Yeah, I was kind of like, "You're new, that's fine," uh,
Thank you.
but but I have to say I've been impressed.
Yeah,
Like with the team that they put together, they've got a losing record right now,
that's
but
okay. This
but
is
for an
it's an expansion
expansion team,
team.
to be coming in and performing the way they are now, obviously they have Kate Martin, who's phenomenal, and we love her from her year at the
Mhm.
Aces. But they did just lose one of their players, however. one of the players has done what I am going to refer to from now on as an Emma Messiman. What what she's decided to do is, and she is Belgium as well,
Mm.
is go back to Belgium and concentrate on playing for Belgium, which totally understand. Emma Messman, as I said, did the same. She had the opportunity to come back to the W, decided that she wanted to concentrate on Belgium, and to be fair to her, given what she did in the Paris Olympics, it definitely worked. Like for sure, like the performances that that team put in. Van Loo is still in in the WNBA. She's Belgium as well with the Valkyries, I'm sure. And but what I love about this team is one, they're selling out their arena because their marketing has been spot on from the get go. They have a wait list. I think I seen a post where they put a wait list like we've sold out our season tickets and we now have a wait list of 2,000 people. Like you have a wait list. You're an expansion team and you have a wait list for expansion team for season tickets. That's phenomenal. And the way that they've put that team together, although the coach did take some heat for some reason at the beginning of the season, I think those fans are probably sitting back now saying, you know what, we'll just sit and drink our beer and watch the game
Right,
and shut up from now on. We're not going
right.
to backseat coach.
And the coach is going, "Thank you. Sit there and hush." Um, I go, "What were your expectations of an expansion team anyway?" Like, come on, guys.
Yeah,
What she has done with this team is amazing. They've had some huge wins, like you said. They have some strong pieces. I think they're gonna have a promising season, and they're building a strong foundation. And it's kinda like you said, we do have a lot of new people that are coming to the league, that are maybe coming from teams that were in Final Fours. And but I also go, most of those teams hadn't been there before, so it was your first time. Don't expect them to create an expansion team and for these teams to just come out of the gate. It can happen,
yeah,
but that shouldn't be the expectation. Give coaches a minute to get the right pieces together. They do spend a lot of time in the off season. I've seen these meetings where they're sitting up looking at every single piece on the board, looking at who they might have a chance to get. And there's a lot of homework that goes into that. And I think she's done an amazing job as a coach. And they're having fun. Like I like watching them play. They're competitive, but they're fun. I think she'll be fine. And I think she's gonna win over those fans and educate them along the way. I think a lot of these teams are doing it the right way. This is
yeah.
also why I'm kind of shocked with Chicago, because I go, this is an expansion team that really you can show how much work they put into this offseason. And it could have been something that fell through in Chicago. I'm just right now I'm a little
Sore.
disappointed with the moves.
Yeah,
But
the
I,
moves
I
weren't
gotta
great.
I gotta be nice because you saw HBO's article about her fears now that Courtney's out. I thought it was big of her to be authentic and honest about it, because they're kind of in a similar role, but they're going to struggle. The Valkyries are going to struggle. They might not. I don't know. They might stay in this mid range, which is perfect for them. But I don't know. I think they're in the middle of the pack when we think about the WNBA, and it's going to be fun to see how this affects future expansion teams because we got a few more rolling out.
Yeah, like we've got Toronto, then Portland,
Mhm.
so that's definitely going to be those two franchises will be looking at Golden State a lot in terms of how they've
Mhm.
went about setting their team up on and off the floor,
Yeah.
and how they can kind of take some of that and build for success from the jump. And success for expansion teams, like you set expectations. You're not expecting to be in the playoffs in your first season. If you are, then well done to you. Or if you're like, who is it, the Golden Knights, the NHL team, like they came in and was it their second season or something? They won the Stanley Cup. So, you know, I think that is a rare thing to have happen and is not the norm. Whereas a franchise team coming in, new, fresh, it takes time. It's not as if you've got, like, you look at the Liberty. yes, they've made a few changes in their personnel on the floor, but that team have been together. Like the core of that team have been together now for like 3-4 years. So like they have that. Whereas you're basically putting 12 players together for the first time. So I think, and like training camp isn't that long. So for the W, because of just timelines with draft and everything else. So I think I think it's going to be a tough season for them, but I think it's going to be a good stepping stone for the future for them.
Absolutely. Hats off. That coach is doing a great job.
Oh
GM,
yeah,
president, all of them.
yeah, and let's not be mistaken. You know, like Lacob, you know, did a phenomenal job with the Warriors, and I believe that that's why he's been trusted with the WNBA franchise because he made the Warriors profitable on and off the floor and brought championships to San Francisco. And you know that's what the WNBA want. They want a competitive league, and the way
Yeah,
you do that is bringing in competitive people like Joe Lacob, and the team that he's put together for that franchise. So, no, I think it'll be. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be awesome.
same.
And like I said earlier, Kirsten Clark is going to be in San Francisco for a Valkyries game. I can't remember which one it is, but she will be there next month. So hopefully she can come back and give us the lowdown. We will get out. Our end of our first episode. It's been long, but it's definitely been worthwhile because we've covered a lot of topics, and we will continue to do so each and every week when myself and Michelle come together. Now, as we launch our new shows, some are returning. Obviously, the Liberty show is going to return with Stacia and Kirsten, as I mentioned. We're adding to that show with Pedro, which is awesome. So as we start to launch those shows, we will keep you apprised across social media and this show as well of what's coming up and where else you can tune in to your more team specific news and lowdown on what's going on in your city and with your team. So keep with us across all of social media and here on our show. But Michelle, great first show. Great to be back, like talking WNBA. I've watched so many games this season. League Pass has definitely been well used for sure. But um, w- before we go, what is your biggest hope for this season?
I just want, to be honest, I would love for the probably just the viewership to kind of adopt the league as a whole, as an absolute like whole. I think the league will win them over with the commercials, the marketing things that they're putting out there, but be open to unity versus division and divisiveness. It's it's gonna tear us up. Like sport has notoriously been known for uniting teams, communities, and that's one of the things I love to see with this season is for us to kind of bridge that gap between the new players, younger, NIL, all of that, with the people who set the foundation and created and put down the work that allowed the league to kind of be there and for all of that to be respected.
I couldn't have said that any better myself. And I think on that is a really good way to close out the show. We will be back next week. Do join us, and we hope you enjoyed this show. And if you do want to get in touch with us, by all means, do that through social media, yourgamenetwork.vip, wherever you watch social media. And we will catch you next week. Have a good one.